Good afternoon, Mr. Braddock and esteemed guests. Thank you for today's audience and for the honor and privilege of serving just another police department. We are happy to be back with you for Phase 2 as you strive to advance your candidate selection practices. Christopher, Emily, Madison, and I bring 60 years of combined experience serving corporate, federal, and state-based organizations. With experience in organizational culture, goal and reward systems, training and performance management processes, and human resources practices, ECMB Consulting knows how to find strength in differences. And because your mission is to protect and serve, our mission is you. Today, we will cover the results of your validation study and discuss our research methods and analytics intended to help boost the impact of your selection process. Based on these analyses, we will provide you with final recommendations and refined KSAOs. Conducting validity studies are crucial to continuous business improvement. They ensure that selection procedures accurately predict job performance, minimize legal risk, enhance fairness, and optimize resource allocations. Our study looked at aspects of your hiring process through 3 lenses: knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics, validity, and utility. These will be covered in depth individually in the following sections. But first, let's get a basic understanding for each. KSAOs are essential attributes required for successful job performance. Knowledge refers to the information required to perform tasks effectively. Skills denote the practical abilities or proficiencies needed to execute tasks. Abilities encompasses innate or acquired traits that enable individuals to perform tasks proficiently. Other characteristics typically include personality traits, attitudes, or other qualities relevant to job performance. In the context of a validity study for selection procedures, identifying and assessing these KSAOs are crucial for ensuring that candidates possess what is necessary to excel in their role. Validity refers to how accurately a test or assessment measures what it intends to measure. It's about ensuring that the test truly captures the construct or the trait it's designed to evaluate reliably and consistently. Validity is essential for ensuring that test results are meaningful and reliable, providing accurate information for decision-making in fields like yours. There are different types of validity, which we'll look at later today. Utility analysis is a method used in human resource management to evaluate the effectiveness and efficiency of selection procedures for HR interventions. It involves assessing the costs and the benefits associated with different options to determine the optimal course of action.
Through a comprehensive job analysis, our consulting team at ECMB has identified several critical knowledge, skill, ability, and other characteristics, or KSAOs, that are essential for effective performance as a police officer. The first of these is general mental ability, including analytical and critical thinking skills, situational assessment abilities, adaptability and flexibility, stress management and resilience, and problem-solving capabilities. The ability to synthesize information, learn quickly, and solve complex problems under pressure is paramount. Next is interpersonal and communication skills. This includes verbal communication abilities, cultural awareness, openness to feedback, as well as qualities like integrity, ethics, and a commitment to duty and service. Building rapport, de-escalating conflicts, and interfacing effectively with the public are daily responsibilities. There are also critical knowledge components, like a comprehensive understanding of law and police force procedures and protocols. Adhering to command structures and properly executing protocols is non-negotiable. Finally, physical abilities like stamina, endurance, strength, and agility are essential for this demanding role. Officers must be capable of physical pursuits, making arrests, and responding with haste while prioritizing safety. 4 predictors were selected to measure these attributes comprehensively: interviews, general mental ability tests, knowledge assessments of police force procedures, and in-basket tests. This table shows how the predictors map onto their identified KSAOs. Interviews allow evaluation of interpersonal and communication skills, as well as assess a candidate's decision-making approach, problem-solving methodology, and alignment with ethical standards and coachability for the role. General mental ability tests measure cognitive capabilities, like critical thinking, logical reasoning, and problem-solving aptitude. These assess a candidate's ability to handle the cognitive demands of police work and make sound decisions under pressure. Knowledge assessments focus on comprehension of police force procedures, legal frameworks, regulations, and operational protocols. They gauge an applicant's foundational expertise in law, policy, and best practices required for effective job performance. The in-basket test exercises evaluate skills through simulated job scenarios. They provide insight into a candidate's fitness and agility, situational awareness, adaptability, task prioritization abilities, and capability to problem solve and make decisions while managing competing demands. Combining these selection predictors allows us to comprehensively assess if candidates possess the full suite of knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics required for success in law enforcement. The predictors were specifically chosen based on their proven validity in accurately measuring essential KSAOs identified through job analysis.
Estimates for the collective model. To estimate the effectiveness of the collective model in predicting job performance, we ran a regression analysis consisting of all 4 predictors, and we coded in RStudio to calculate the results. Outputs from the analysis produced an R-squared value of 0.261, suggesting that 26.1% of the variance in job performance is accounted for by the predictors in the model. However, that means that roughly 3/4 of the variance is still unaccounted for, which allows room for improvement in terms of increasing the amount of variance we can account for using this model. Next, we found the R value, or the validity estimate, to be 0.51. This value represents the strength of the correlation between the model and job performance. Considering widely accepted thresholds, values of 0.50 and above are typically considered strong effects. Therefore, the value of 0.51 suggests that JAPD's selection system is indeed strongly related to job performance, even though the predictors only accounted for roughly 26% of variance. Within this collective model, the predictor of GMA emerged as the most predictive, with an unstandardized regression coefficient of 0.18, followed by interview, knowledge, and in-basket, which possessed unstandardized regression coefficients of 0.13, 0.07, and 0.06 respectively. However, it should be noted that covariance may have occurred in this analysis, wherein the overlapping relationships of predictors actually diminishes their individual predictive power when tested collectively. For instance, an individual with a high GMA will likely also have a higher knowledge of police procedures, as well as a higher in-basket score. So the predictive ability of the latter measure eclipses the former in this scenario. Furthermore, our regression analysis produced a p-value above the widely accepted threshold for statistical significance in relation to the predictor of interview. Therefore, the observed relationship between the interview and performance may be unreliable and/or influenced by alternative factors, such as interview bias or inter-rater discrepancies, and we'll discuss more of that later. So, in conclusion, while the model exhibits a strong correlation with job performance, given the validity estimate, and the model does predict over 1/4 of variance in performance, it could be improved. Estimates for the individual predictors. To better gauge the predictive ability of each of the 4 predictors, we conducted independent regression and correlation analysis to gauge the validity and variance of performance predicted by the individual predictors themselves. Keeping in mind the guidelines for the strength of effect size, we see that the coefficient of 0.208 for interview suggests a moderate to weak relationship between interview and job performance, and the measure only accounts for roughly 4% of the variance in performance. Next, GMA's coefficient of 0.489 suggests a moderately strong relationship between GMA and job performance, and furthermore, GMA alone was found to predict 23.9% of the variance in job performance. These figures suggest that GMA alone has a validity almost as high as the collective model, and is only a few percentage points less effective than the collective model at predicting variance. Next, we see knowledge once again has a weak correlation and accounts for less than 4% of the variance. And finally, in-basket, when tested individually, has a moderate to strong relationship with performance and accounts for greater than 10% of the variance in job performance. This is an increase as opposed to when it was measured collectively in the composite model. This increase suggests that in-basket may actually be a beneficial and useful factor to consider when looking to revise the selection system. Estimates for the individual predictors while holding others constant. To better understand the relative importance of each variable's relationship to successful job performance, the team obtained the independent criterion-related validity estimates for each predictor. This was done by utilizing the beta function in RStudio to produce standardized coefficients. Essentially, these coefficients represent the estimated change in the dependent variable performance per one standard deviation increase in the predictor while holding other predictors constant. These calculations showed that each predictor had a positive relationship with job performance. However, once again, we see GMA proved to be the strongest individual predictor of performance. Its standardized coefficient of 0.42 suggests that for every one standardized deviation increase in GMA, performance will in turn increase by 0.42 standard deviations. Looking at the figures, we see the other three predictors, even though positive, represented only marginal increases in performance per one standard deviation increase. These analyses further contribute to the mounting evidence that of the predictors tested, GMA continually has the strongest predictive ability, as it often does. Alternative predictor models. To identify the predictors and combinations of predictors that produce maximum predictive ability, the team conducted various 1, 2, and 3 variable regression analyses, noting the models that produce the highest coefficients and R-squared values. The team also ran ANOVA tests to compare the original composite model with the new models featuring individual and combinations of predictors, and ran models that included interaction terms to investigate the interactions between all of the predictors. After running the analysis, our team found that the models consisting of GMA continually proved to be the most predictive, further solidifying that notion that GMA is the strongest predictor of the measures tested. Of the 2 variable models run, the combination of GMA and in-basket produced the highest R-squared value of 0.252, suggesting 25.2% of the variance in performance can be explained by those 2 predictors. Furthermore, our team found that the addition of variables beyond 3 variables seemed to have diminishing returns. While running a model featuring a combination of the 4 predictors brings the amount of variance explained above 26%, that is only roughly 3 percentage points higher than what GMA alone explains, and less than 1% above what GMA and in-basket explain. Therefore, in this scenario, the incremental validity or the additional predictive power gained by adding other predictors to the model does not seem to outweigh the added model complexity, increased risk of multicollinearity and covariance, and the increased costs associated with adding additional predictors to the model beyond 2. Therefore, we suggest that a 2-predictor model may be the most effective.